The talk show is to show people that even with a learning disability, and by the way, some people are saying, oh, you don't have a learning disability, it's because I hide it. Years of practice of staring in the mirror, but we can get to that later on.
Okay.
But the whole point is for me to show people that even with a learning disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, turning myself into a perfect example for people out there deaf, blind, or in a wheelchair. Doesn't matter, black, white, Asian, doesn't really make a difference. That you should never label yourself or have people label you. You should prove to them you can stand out to something. Now,
I don't even like labels. I really don't. And the fact that you bring that up is another discussion I was having yesterday in that same class that I was in. A few years ago, I did an exercise with my teachers where we put a label on everybody's head.
Right.
And each person, they had no idea what the label on their head was. And we said, we want you to treat the person like the label that's on their head. So as we went through the exercise, folks had no idea what was on their head, but they actually began to act like they were being treated. Like if the label on their head said dumb, they started acting dumb. If the label on their head said lazy, they started acting lazy. If the label on their head said smart, they start. So I don't like labeling because people tend to sometimes fall into what people are labeling them as. We need to remove the labels, and as you said, everybody's capable. And truth of the matter told is, Keith, every last one of us has a disability one way or the other.
Right.
So I applaud you for having a show that makes that statement that everybody is able.
And it's very nice to have people supporting me in the whole thing I'm doing. You know, I have people say to me that, oh, it's terrific what you're doing, but I don't want nothing to do with it. I don't care what you're doing, but you know, like it's great what you're doing, but I really want nothing to do with it. So it's kind of like, well, by saying that, you sound like a freaking hypocrite.
This is true. That's right. Because you're talking at two ends of the spectrum. You're telling me I think it's great, but I don't want to be a part of it. Most people want to be a part of something great.
Yeah, and that's even with my own family. They're like, oh, it's great what you're doing, but I don't want to know about it, don't want to hear about it, do whatever. But, you know, I'll tell you a funny story. When I first started this a year and a half ago, they never thought it was going to amount to anything. Right. They never thought I would get up, well, thanks to you, get up to 94 people. Right. Even myself, I was imagining having 94, but I didn't really think I was going to get 94. The only thing they cared about was if anyone shows up at the door, any cops come knocking at the door, your ass is on the street. It's like, oh, besides that, do whatever you want. So it's well, okay.
Right. Well, again, you don't get paid for this. The show that I do, I don't get paid for. We do what we do because it's our passion.
Right.
We do what we do. It's a wonderful way to meet people. It's a wonderful way to communicate. A wonderful way to share our stories. So I don't see anything wrong with that. And again, all of us are coming from our own histories, our own backgrounds, and the more that we can get out there and show that everybody's capable, the better off all of us will be.
And a lot of people say, and it's true, right now the KeithAndrewNetWork presents Uncensored, and I do have a sponsor, lifeofafighter.com, that's helping me out. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But the talk show Uncensored, it isn't an official talk show. And a lot of people are like, well, you're having a talk show, so how is it not official? And to you, because you have an official talk show, what is the difference of being actually official to something like mine? How do you compare the two to at the same time your show is better than mine?
In 2014, we're all either official or unofficial. Because the technology, even the fact that we're doing this interview here on Skype, that technology was not available to us 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. But now you can self-publish books, you can self-publish music. Those of us, you can do radio shows on Blogspot or online or internet radio. My particular show happens to be run out of a university. So it was the studio in and of itself was already there as a training site for students. Of us who are alumni continue to do shows there, but we're in the small number. But my point is, there's no such thing as official or unofficial anymore. The fact that you're out here, the fact that you're airwaves, the fact that you're on the network, that makes it official.
No, I appreciate that. With some people, it's kind of like goes in one ear and out the other.
Well, again, years ago, the only way you could get on a radio is you had to go to a studio. Nowadays, there's online radio. People are producing their own radio shows out of their homes, just like you're doing. I'm sitting here right now in my office, in my basement, in my house. That was unheard of 30, 40, 50 years ago. All right? But in 2014, we can make our own shows. You have, like, my show is, as I said, I interview authors. The bulk or the majority of the authors I interview are self-published authors. They didn't go to a traditional publishing house, such as one of the big boys, where they send in their book and get 5,000 rejection letters. They did it themselves. So some people tell them to say, well, that's not an official book because you didn't go to a big publishing company. That's not true. They sell sometimes just as much, if not more, than somebody that went to a traditional publishing house. The same thing happens with these shows. You never know where your show can reach because it can go all around the world now. There was a time when these shows would be in a local market. With the advent of web streaming and webcasting, we can be heard all around the world.
That's true. Now, for example, if I went to your studio, do you have an actual studio or it's your house?
No, it's an actual studio. It sits on the campus of the university, William Patterson University in Wayne, New Jersey. It's actually, the radio station is a part of the university. So for a communication major that may be majoring in radio journalism, they actually have an opportunity to train in that studio. As I was saying a couple of minutes ago, most of the DJs in that particular studio are students. And there are a few of us who are old like me, who are alumni, that we were granted a show because the show is a good show. We have an audience of our own. So we were able to hang on. But there's only maybe 3 to 5 alumni that has maintained shows, and the rest of them are students.
All right, now we're going to take a commercial break for our sponsor, and when we come back, I have some hard-hitting questions for you.
Okay, looking forward to it.
Are you tired, feeling sluggish, shitty, crappy, feeling like you don't have the energy of doing anything? That's okay. Now introducing on behalf of Nutralites.com, try the SX. Sugar-free. Gives you the boost when you need it. Are you tired, feeling sluggish, shitty, crappy, feeling like you don't have the energy of doing anything? Just take some of these energy bars and it will give you the energy that you need. Are you tired, feeling sluggish, shitty, crappy, feeling like you don't have the energy of doing anything? Try the Double X. They give you the strength.
In the studio, it happens.
Now, where we left off, sorry for that little interrupting, we're comparing education. I'm going to tell you basically the school I went to was a bunch of snobby pricks.
Okay.
And it was a rich, snobby country club. You know, if you had money, the kids could pay off the teachers, and if you knew people, you can get away with shit.
Right.
When I was growing up, and I'm going to direct this back to you in a minute. When I was growing up, I always wanted to go to the school my parents went to. Or the schools like from the 80s, from the Breakfast Club. To me, that was high school. Now, to you, when you went to high school, did it actually feel like high school, or did it feel like it was masking? Like it was... What's it, like a mask, like something, even though it was supposed to be high school, it didn't really feel like high school. That's what I meant.
Well, for me, high school was some of my best years. I mean, those 4 years were wonderful because I'm the type of person that is involved in a lot of different activities. I'm a musician, so the time that I was in high school, I played for the concert choir. I was in a jazz band, student council, baseball team. I had an absolute ball when I was in high school. So for me, it really did feel like a high school. Now, as I shared with you a couple of minutes ago, the movie Lean on Me was actually filmed in Eastside, and it was a whole big controversy about Joe Clark, who was the principal at the time. And I would always tell people Eastside was not as bad as they say it was prior to George Clark getting there, and it was not as good as it was with him there and after he left, that they tried to make it seem. And that's, if you want to talk uncensored, that's uncensored. Because when he got there, everybody was saying how horrible the school was, and the school was not as bad as the movie made it seem, and the school did not change to the point where the movie made it seem either. But the time that I was there, I had a blast in high school. If I could go back to those 4 years, I probably would. So for me, it was. But now, if you want to talk the difference between a private school, because I heard you say about snobby and highfalutin and so forth and so on, it doesn't matter if you're in a private school in the suburbs or an urban school. Every school and population has their issues. So you really can't say one is either better than the other. I mean, in your urban schools, you got issues such as low parent support, maybe low economics. Kids are very disrespectful. But in your suburban school, you're dealing on a whole different level. A lot of times teachers can't get anything done because every parent is coming in there with their lawyer. They're telling them what they can and can't do. They're coming in there. You have kids that are on hardcore drugs, not just marijuana or not just crack. You're talking hardcore LSD, heroin, and some really hardcore drugs. So each one of the different communities, people think only the urban community have issues. That's not true. Suburban and private schools have issues too.
No, I agree with you. I would sum up my education like this. One word. Like this. And most of the time, they say, go read the newspaper.
Okay.
So that's why when I say it isn't, a lot of people say, oh, you're being racist. But I went to your school. And not saying that because you're black. I'm not saying that.
Right, I understand exactly what you're saying.
It's because the whole point of being educated and dealing with white kids, black kids, Asian kids, whatever, you're getting a good interaction and you learn how to interact with people.
Correct.
Instead of just putting you in your own confinement in your own classroom and you don't really learn or teach them how to interact with other people. I agree with you. We said earlier, in terms of really, as a world, as a nation, as a country, unfortunately, we don't celebrate what everyone brings to the table. What you bring to the table with your experiences may be different from what I would bring to the table. But if we put those two experiences together, we have something greater than if we didn't do that. Okay, so and what we do is we want everybody to be the same. So we'll celebrate sameness instead of celebrating what the diversity is. So there's some things, like for me, I can do math, but math is not my thing. My thing is reading, writing, speaking, so forth and so on. You have other people that the numbers are their thing. All right, you put the two of us together, and it happened for me in college. I was very good at that, and my best friend at the time was just the reverse. So when we had all our math classes, he helped me. When we had all of our language arts classes or anything that had to do with writing, I helped him. That's how we got through college together. It's about working together. So you're right, I'm with you. Rather than lumping us in one group or just sitting us aside saying everybody has to be the same, it's better whenever everybody bring their difference to the table. Yeah, I agree with you. Now I'm going to ask you a couple more hard-hitting questions, if you don't mind.
Sure, go right ahead.
Recently was the whole the cop thing going on. Now, I respect NYPD Blue, not the TV show, and then the whole.
You mean the real guys?
Right, because they're actually heroes, like the firefighters.
Right.
And the whole concept, who's better, cops or firefighters? Like, it's they're putting their lives on the line. They're both
absolutely.
They're both great. It's not a freaking competition.
Right.
But what I hate is how you have cowards hiding behind the badge and thinking they can get away with it and turning that badge and that reputation of a badge, turn it to shit. That's where I have a problem with it.
Well, that's you and me both. And get police, first off, with police and fire department, I'm like you. That's a job where they're rushing to get into where everybody else is rushing to get out of. So, for example, if you have a burning building, you have firefighters going into that where people are trying to get out of. Same thing in a police situation. You have police officers running into a shooting that everybody's trying to get away from. So I have the most respect for them as well. But like any other profession, you have bad apples in it. Just like in the teaching profession, we have some bad teachers. Just like in, with the police or the fire department, you have bad firefighters. And you're right. The fact that somebody will now be abusive, or the fact that somebody would hide around the fact their power is in that gun and that badge, that's just an abuse of power. But at the same time, I'm not one to jump on the bandwagon either and just automatically assume police brutality. Because no one ever rolls the tape back to say, well, why was Johnny stealing that car to begin with? That's where we need to roll that all the way back to the root, that if the people had not have been doing or breaking the law to begin with, you wouldn't have to worry about police brutality. But the second piece of that is you do have some cops that take it to the extreme because they have the badge. Because if you took that badge and gun away from them, they might not be that tough.
That's true. Now, going with the, I'll give you a perfect example. And then, by the way, I'm not saying this because you're black. I'm not racist or anything.
That's okay.
Because, it's, whole people say, too, about the fact, if two white people say this, they're just a bunch of white guys shooting the breeze. But I'm being straight up with you. I have a lot of love and respect for you, so I don't mean to disrespect you if I say anything, so I apologize if I offend you. But, like I said, no disrespect, but,
I'm kind of hard to offend, and I'm in a school every day, so I'm kind of hard to offend. But go ahead, let me hear what you're going to say.
All right, so I was going to say, what's the whole Trayvon thing? No one knew anything, what happened. But the whole African American community said they wanted payback, and I agree with them. They should have justice, but you should hear the facts. What happened, But it's just the fact that the media has something to do with this too. But they want people to get up and rant and say we want blood, we want justice. It's like, okay, that's fine. However, I would like to know the facts first. And a lot of people think, oh, he's being racist. I'm not being racist. I'm just saying I would like to know what the facts are, because I'm not going to kill an innocent person if you don't know what the hell happened.
Well, the truth of the matter is you have Trayvon Martins being killed every day. Matter of fact, Trayvon Martins are not only being killed by white people, they're being killed by black on black. You don't get the media attention for a black on black crime that you do a white on black crime. So whether that's racist or not, I don't know. But the truth of the matter is Trayvon Martins are being killed every day. I agree with you in terms of we need the facts. So I don't know what went down there. That's what I was saying earlier about I'm not real quick to jump on police brutality. But I do know George Zimmerman was told to stand down and he didn't. And I do know George Zimmerman has been in more trouble since that. So you would just kind of wonder, okay, could some of the stuff that's coming out about him and his interaction with Trayvon Martin have been true? But truth be told, you're right. We weren't there. I don't know, because there was reports that Trayvon actually attacked him. I don't know. All I know is the young man was in the neighborhood, and I've been on a gated community like that in Florida. My sister-in-law and brother-in-law live in one. So I know kind of like how the Florida gated communities are. If you're a strange face in the neighborhood, they may look to see who is that. We're not used to that face. So I don't know. All I can do is I can see both sides of the spectrum, but I just think you hit it when you said the media. Because the media wants to sensationalize this stuff because that gets viewers to the news and that gets folks buying newspapers. Because every day we have black on black crime that never gets reported.
Now, you bring up a good point. Two questions, if you don't mind. Yeah, but two good questions, but if you don't mind. Now, when you mentioned black on black crime, how is that any different saying a white guy kills a black guy? How is that more important than like you see in Black on Black crime.
It's not. That's the whole point. Somebody's dead either way. But what gets reported is if it's a white guy shooting a black guy, or the reverse. But you'll have a black shooting a black, and it's like, oh, that's no big deal. Or either that's not worth reporting, when the truth of the matter is, as I said a couple minutes ago, someone's dead either way. Someone's killed somebody either way. So that's why I don't see why any more importance should be placed. Because that goes to your question about the race card. And I know you didn't get there yet, but sometimes that race card is played knowing what it's going to get in terms of attention.
Now, the reason I bring up the media is because I've been trying to reach out and get some exposure for my talk show. I tried, Fox News, CNN, and they're like, oh, that's too political, but at the same time, you're not at that level of, you're not on their radar. You're like a speck on their radar. And they said, try local news, Channel 12 or whatever. Nope, not interested. Oh, it's good what you're doing, not interested. So wait, you ever talk about rapes, murders, and killings, then something positive that I'm doing, like this? And you just, no, we don't have time for that. And then they say, oh, we have a shooting coming. Oh, well, we have a bigger story coming in. Two gay guys kill each other. It's like, what the...
No, and I asked the superintendent of our schools this question the other day in a meeting. Because anytime the school system does anything wrong or appear to be wrong, that makes the paper quickly. There's a lot of good things going on in these schools, too, that the paper never picks up on. And the response was, which is true, good news doesn't sell newspapers.
Right.
Positive does not sell newspapers. So I'm doing something positive, you're doing something positive. People, for whatever reason, and again, that's back in the mindset. For some reason, people think positive is either boring, or they think positive is either like, I don't need to know about that. But it really should be the reverse. Everybody wants to be the ambulance chaser. Everybody wants to be the one seeing somebody get killed. Everybody wants to hear about the person that went to jail. I don't quite understand that mindset myself, because me personally, I would rather hear the good news stories than the bad news.
No, I agree with you, and that's why I stopped watching the news, because every night it's rapes and murders and killings. Like, Jesus Christ, no wonder people are fucked up.
That's right. That's true. Because I know folks who actually work for some of the big networks, and I sometimes ask them, in the first 30 seconds or a minute, they go through 5 or 10 or 15 killings. And how do you do that on a daily basis? How do you do that without taking that into your spirit and becoming depressed? But for them, it's a job.
They just care about being paid. That's basically what it comes down to. Yeah, well, it's sitting in I tell you a couple good shows that should be banned. What was The Following? Bunch, not to stay on the whole race banter, but The Following, a bunch of crazy ass white people. What's the new one? What was it? Stalker.
Okay. Some of those TV shows, I kind of think, is by design to mess us up. You just kind of wonder, because a lot of them deal in the demonic and the satanic and the just straight up negativity. So you just kind of wonder, for lack of a better words, are these things being put in place to mess us up? Now, as you say, muck us up there. You just wonder, because like what you watch and what you listen to is what you take into yourself, and what you take into yourself eventually is going to come back out in some form. All right. So if all you watch, that's where you get that garbage in, garbage out thing. If all you're doing is taking in a bunch of garbage, eventually you're going to come out. That's why if you listen to some of the music sometimes, you're talking about in the inner city, and I'm not against rap because I'm a musician myself. But when you're constantly listening to kill your mother, kill your father, kill the cops, eventually you're going to want to do that, because that's all you put into your mind. Kill your mother, kill your father, kill the cops, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Eventually that's what you're going to want to do.
It's a good thing you brought that up. With the whole music thing, I almost got into a fight with someone a couple of years ago when I got the chance to work at West Point, and I didn't mean anything by it. We were talking about music, And I was about to walk out the door, and it's like, I said, and rap isn't music. He just went off on me. Oh my God, you did not just say that to me. And it's like, wait, I like rap. If it has a good beat to it, I like it. Like Will Smith or LL Cool J made a good beat. It was good.
Right.
But using the N word, the C word, the bitches and hoes are...
Right.
Out of respect for you, I'm not going to say the N word, but, just...
Right. And I know exactly what that is. And I'm... Because, see, this is what I always tell even the girls. I tell you one way, if you want... And I like rap. I don't necessarily think rap in and of itself is music either. I think rap is the ability for somebody to be able to talk in a rhythm. So, say for example, you're very, and that's a talent in and of itself, to be able to talk in a beat. But really, rap is more like poetry.
Right.
So you put now poetry to a beat. That's really what rap is more of. So, in terms of like just straight up musicianship, though, no, I don't see rap as music either. I see rap as poetry to a beat. Others will disagree. They have that right to. But again, and that's a skill. Trust me, because everybody cannot talk to a beat like that. All right. So that in and of itself is a skill. It's a lot of these guys are coming straight off the street. They had been in thug life. They were criminals. It just happened, so they had the skill to be able to talk to a beat, and they've made it big. All right. So that's rap. But in terms of if you want to really do away with some of the negative rap, all the females have to do is start telling these guys, what? You listening to that thing that's calling me a bitch, calling me a hoe? You listen to that, I can't be with you. Sales would plummet if enough women did that. They get in the car and bitch this and hoe that is playing. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not getting in that car with you. Brothers would stop. The men would stop. Eventually they'd stop listening and buying because the end goal is to be with the female. All right, so the females would say, no, you listen to something that's calling me bitch and hoe, I won't be with you. Eventually that would stop.
Now, like I said, we're on this whole big rant, and for our listeners, this is not every single episode. I don't need any death threats or some shit. It's just a normal conversation between two good
it is, and it's uncensored, so, like I said, I have no filter at this point in my life. I really don't have a filter. And I have my opinions, and I'm not asking anybody that they have to agree with them. I am a musician. I've been playing piano since I was 8 years old. So I do know what music is.
Right.
And I do know what music is not. And that's why I say rap is the ability to speak lyrically to a beat. That does not necessarily make it music, because you could have nothing but the drum beat going and talk to it with no other musical instruments in there. That's being able to talk to a beat.
No, I agree with you, and this has nothing to do with, being black. You can turn that around, or like Goofy, and I'm at fault too, because in 2004, I liked John Cena.
Wrestler.
John Cena came out like Eminem, and at the time I liked Eminem too, with the white hat and the chain and the jersey. And
right.
If you want to talk about stereotyping, John Cena opened and Eminem opened the door for white people acting black. What's the whole stereotyping?
And I like John Cena and Eminem, by the way, as well. So it's not like I'm stuck on only having an African American or a black artist. My daughter is a big wrestling fan. We actually seen John Cena. And the same thing with Eminem whenever he did 8 Mile. Excuse me. I love the theme to 8 Mile. Matter of fact, I think they're using it now in some of the Detroit ads.
Right. But, it has nothing to do with being black or being white or being Mexican. It's basically in each group, you have good, hardworking people like you and me.
Correct.
And then you have a bunch of assholes who want to ruin things for everyone else.
Correct. And you have that in every industry. That's why when you were talking about the police and the fire, it's in every industry. It doesn't matter. You have good scientists, you have good doctors, you have bad doctors. It doesn't matter. There's always going to be bad apples in the basket. The trick is not to let the bad apples take over.
That's true. Now, the two things I want to bring up is there's something called twerking. I don't know if you know what that is.
Dance. It's a dance. That's that crazy dance that the girl from Disney did. What's her name? Miley Cyrus? No,
right.
What's the girl name? Is that her?
Hannah Montana or so whatever the hell it was. Yeah, Miley Cyrus. And Taylor Swift did something recently about twerking. And it's like, if you're catering to kids, why the fuck do you want to teach your kid how to twerk? I have no idea what that is. I don't want to know what the hell that is.
It's a certain type of dance. It's a certain type of... Actually, it's somewhat of a lewd dance. And I'm trying to think of the Disney girl. I want to make sure I'm calling her name right. Is it Miley Cyrus?
Yes.
Is she the one that was with Thick? She did it on stage with, what's his name? The guy, Alan Thicke or whatever his name is, the singer. He's a rapper too, I think. But anyway,
yeah,
it's a type of a dance.
But how is that catering to kids?
I don't see that catering to kids at all. I don't, because again, it's a form of a lewd type of dance. I mean, if you're into lewd dancing, well, then you'll like it. But if you're not into lewd dancing, then it won't appeal to you.
I got a funny story for you. When my dad was in his school, he always made videos for the school. He has a bunch of them, started since back in '97. It was the Henry Hudson yearbook video.
Okay.
And it's really good. If you should sit down and watch some of them one day. And, well, if you're interested.
Uh-huh. Well, anything education related or school related, I usually am interested in.
Well, it's basically, it's a video. It's just about everything that from September to June, everything from Spirit Week to Halloween. It's really nice. You would like it.
Right.
And basically, at the time, my brother always did the editing for my dad. And there was a song called Gasolina.
Okay.
And basically my brother put in the video, and my dad was completely oblivious to it at the time. He thought it was about gasoline.
Okay.
So the principal at the time was Spanish, and as soon as that song came up, hey, you want some gasolina? Her face turned purple. And she said to my dad, what the hell was wrong with you? Why did you pick this song? And my dad said, well, what's the problem? They're just talking about gasoline. And it's like, no, that's not what it is. It's about prostitutes and having sex. So my dad was pissed, and my brother's like, you're a fucking idiot. You trying to make me lose my job. What is this shit?
Right. Yeah, every now and again, as educators, we get caught out there. That's why it's good. We have to kind of stay in touch with the youth, for lack of a better word. We have to kind of know language, what's their slang, what's their songs, just to kind of know what the stuff is about.
That's true. Now, going on another subject, you mentioned this about 10, 15, 30 years ago. I wanted to be a video producer. Unfortunately, I was 10 years old about back then. But at the time, it was because I liked making videos.
Okay.
10, 20 years ago, only certain people had access to create videos. Now anyone,
correct,
4 years old to 90 can make videos like that. So it became basically obsolete. But I was thinking about what if, and here's a question I was going to ask you. What do you know now, either 10 or 5 years ago, what do you know now that you wished you knew then?
Well, now that's kind of a difficult question, only because, for whatever time frame you're in, you know what you know at that point, and you don't even know what you need to know for the future. So therefore, when you get in the future, and this sounds like psychobabble, but when you get in the future, it's kind of difficult to look back to say, what is it that I wish I would have known then? I don't know, because I think I knew everything I needed to know for that time frame, and now I'm learning things that I need to know for this time frame. Like, excuse me, like I was saying, with the technology. The fact that we're even having this on a Skype right now.
Right.
I'm sitting here looking through my laptop, you're looking through your camera, or phone, or iPad, whatever device you're looking on. You couldn't do that then. But now that's something we all had to kind of learn to do. So, I mean, for me, I've lived long enough to see 45s, 33s and a halves, cassette tapes, 8-track tapes, CDs, flash drives, floppy disks. I mean, technologically, it's been a wonderful time. For some people that struggle with technology, it could be a challenging or a difficult time. So for me, I guess as the technology continues to come out, you just want to continue to stay up with it and learn it. So probably, I mean, from a technological standpoint, just whatever was out there 5 years ago, I wanted to make sure I knew it, and whatever's out here now, I want to make sure I know it. I mean, that question can go so many different ways. I mean, I think the best way I can answer that is how I tell people all the time, there's no such thing as an experience wasted. So no matter where you are, at what time you're in, whatever you're doing, excuse me, in my career, I've been a custodian, I've been a secretary, I've been a school teacher, I've been a telemarketing rep, I've been a marketing manager for AT&T. I mean, I've been a camp counselor. I mean, and all of it feeds into me being a principal and a radio talk show host today. Jet engine mechanic, all of it, what skills and things that you've learned in all your experiences is what you use in whatever you're doing presently. So no experience is wasted. So that's kind of a difficult question for me to ask in terms of what did I wish I knew now that I didn't know then, or vice versa.
Well, I give you a perfect example. 10 years ago, because it's 2014, 10 years ago, I would have been, 2004, I would have been a sophomore. And I wish I was doing this then, because by now I would probably get up to 900 or whatever.
You mean in terms of this actual show then?
Right.
See, I don't think we had the capability to do it then. That's what I'm saying. We didn't have. Now maybe someone that was rich or somebody that had access to a studio, somebody, maybe they could have done it. But for us, the average everyday Keith and the average everyday Mark, we didn't have that. That's what all this stuff has just come into being where we can do this stuff on our own.
Yeah, for a perfect example, say 2004, there was no iPhone. I don't think there were any iPhones back then.
The iPhone wasn't at that point yet. Or if it did, it was the very first one. iPhone has only been around within the last maybe 7 to 8 years.
Well, you were breaking up there. I'm sorry. Could you repeat yourself?
No, at what point did we break?
No.
Because I was saying in terms of iPhones have only been around the last 7 or 8 years.
I don't even remember the first iPhone. iPhone 1, 2, 3. Well, what the hell are... I know what 4 is, but I don't remember what they used to look like.
I joined the iPhone family at iPhone 3. Because I'm not one of these people that changes cell phones like every time somebody comes out with a new product. The only time I change is when what I have breaks. So at the time, my cell phone that I had, it broke. I got the iPhone 3. And I kept that until the iPhone 5S. So it's not like I had to have whatever version iPhone comes out. When that iPhone broke, when my iPhone 3 broke, I got the iPhone 5. That's what I still have is the iPhone 5. So some people don't have to have every one.
Well,
I'm not one of those people.
I'll give you a perfect example. We're talking about, we're going down the road, but 2 questions. The first one I was going to say, 10 years ago, no iPhones, there's no Skype.
Nope.
Their Facebook was just starting out. And if I wanted to meet you 10 years ago, that's like, no offense, pissing in the wind, because I had no idea how I would have talked to you 10 years ago, because it's easier now. We have like a website. Or if you wanted to look me up 10 years ago, it's like pissing in the wind, because it's like it's easier to communicate now because you have this and you have that. 10 years ago, you had nothing.
That's correct. But that's how far we've advanced technologically, and the bulk of my guests that I get from my show comes from social media. The fact that we're even sitting here talking today is because of LinkedIn. Okay? So the bulk of my guests, and when Facebook and all that first came out, I thought it was the silliest thing in the world. I had to kind of like do the V8 thing where something had to hit me on the head and say, wait a minute, I can use this for advertising. I can use this to get guests. That's whenever it came alive for me. Same thing with LinkedIn and everything else. Again, when you text me the other day and said I'm your LinkedIn friend, I knew immediately. Okay, there we go. So no, you were not able to do that 10 or 15 years ago unless you called up somebody on the phone. Or I remember as a kid, because I was a big Yankee fan, you send off letters to Yankee Stadium, you never hear anything back. Now you can tweet somebody, you can text somebody, you can Facebook somebody, and they respond. You were talking about celebrities earlier. For some reason, celebrities respond to social media.
Well, yeah, it's funny you should bring that up. I was an idiot back in 2009 because I had like Tori Wilson and Vince McMahon or whatever wrestlers or famous people. It's like, oh, I have all these famous people and I can talk to them every day. How do you know, and how it's just directed at you, how do you know that's actually them you're talking to? Because Facebook and MySpace hire people to pretend. I used to think PR means real people. But then I figured out and I was told that PR means role player. So I wish I knew that back then, so I wouldn't have been wasting my time and everything, but...
Well, again, it's not necessary, because remember, like I said, no experience is wasted. So even if they have somebody doing it for them, you've still reached their camp.
Right.
And they still, believe it or not, they do monitor what fans are saying to them. So even if you've reached the person that they've hired to do that for them, still you've reached some part of their network that they've read it somewhere. They don't just let that go by, because that's how they communicate with their fans. That's how they know what to say. I mean, there's no doubt about it that President Obama is not reading his tweets, but he gets a feel for what people are saying by what people are tweeting to him.
Well, on a subject, supposedly President Obama has his own LinkedIn. He doesn't have a fucking LinkedIn. I don't know. He's just some hacker.
No, that's the PR again. That's the press. That's the White House press part, or whoever he has manning that. But they do read them. They do read them.
That's true. Now, if you could have any guess, if you had to pick the top 2, the top 5, who would you love to have on your talk show?
That's tough, too, because I love to have everybody. I mean, I really do. I mean, on my show, it ranges from the famous to the not-so-famous. I mean, I've had folks that's been related to Martin Luther King Jr. I had Newt Gingrich's daughter on there, Jackie. I've had Nikki Giovanni. I've had Judge Hatchett. I've had Omar Tyree. I've had folks that are really known throughout the world on the show. And then I've had folks that nobody knew. They're local. They were local authors. So for me, I really don't have any particular, because for me, anybody, like, I would just as much have you on the show as I would President Obama. I mean, it's the same difference with me. It's just a matter of meeting people, talking about their work, sharing information with listeners. So I really don't have any one person. I go after everybody. I go after everybody, and social media has made it where you can go after anybody. I mean, there's actors and actresses, like I said, Judge Hatchett on television. I tried to get Newt Gingrich on there, him, and I got his daughter. So when I went after Newt, I got his daughter Jackie. Okay, fine, I got Newt Gingrich's daughter. So for me, it's anybody. It's really anybody. If you have a story to tell, if you've done some work, like your story is different because of the fact that you're making a statement about differences.
Right.
So I know whenever we do your show, that's going to be the angle that I take. That, this is somebody that's the premise of the show is about celebrating difference, inclusion. The premise of the show is that regardless of whatever disability you may think I have, that doesn't stop me from doing what I want to do. That doesn't stop me from speaking to people. That doesn't stop pursuing my goals. So that's going to be the angle of the show whenever we get together. And that's the story that needs to be heard.
No, I'm looking forward to it. I don't mean to cut you off, but I do have a second interview.
Okay, I understand. I'm in radio. I know how that goes.
But wrapping up, do you have any funny stories you like to share? Anything you want to say to your fans and listeners? I know a lot of people would say, how come you went this whole big racist rant? And it wasn't a racist rant.
No, it wasn't a racist rant at all. Because first thing, and I'll be brief with this, people need to understand there's a difference between racism and prejudice. And even though people use them interchangeably, they're not. Racism comes into play whenever whichever race has the power and the authority to impact or control someone else's life. Because some people will say a black person can't be racist. That's not true. If I'm the owner of the store and I don't hire you because you're white, that makes me a racist. All right? Prejudice just means you have your different likes. You may not like vanilla ice cream, but you like butter pecan. You may not like, Jell-O, but you like pudding. That's a prejudice.
Right.
All right? People don't realize the two things are different. Everybody has prejudice, but not everybody's racist. In some respects, if I don't, let's say, for example, like I said, I owned a store. And even let's take it to the whole differentiation thing in terms of disability, and that's a bad word even in of itself. But let's take it for example, you come in and I don't hire you straight up because of your learning disability.
And that has happened.
I know it's happened, but see, that's where your ists come in. That's where a racist or someone that's breaking the code in terms of the American Disability Act come in. All right? Whenever the sole reason that you don't hire somebody is because of their race or their gender or their disability, that's when you're being one of the ists. All right? That's not prejudice. So if I walk now into your establishment and I'm qualified for the job and the only reason you don't hire me is because I'm black, that makes you a racist. All right? So people need to understand the difference of that. So what we were talking about really was not racist. That's why I said earlier, we have stories every day of black people killing black people. That doesn't make the news. The only time, because the media feeds off of racism.
Right.
The media feeds off of that. And there are times people take advantage of the race card, whether it be black, white, Chinese, whoever. All right? So, no, what we were talking about wasn't racist. We don't need to apologize for that.
Well, if I said anything and offended you, I apologize.
Not at all. Not at all. Not offended, not an iota. Not a bit.
Well, wrapping up, do you have anything you want to say to your fans and listeners?
I just thank everybody for listening, Keith. I think what you're doing, I had no idea what the premise of the show was until we talked. But the fact that you're trying to do something to show that regardless of what status or state that you're in, everybody can contribute something. Maybe what you contribute is not what I contribute, and what I contribute is not what you contribute, but all of us contribute something. So I just thank the listeners and those who support you. May you get to like 1,094. May you get to 1,094 guests. You're at 94. You're on your way. Just keep plugging along. When I first started my show, I didn't have any guests. My show is called The Reading Circle. And when my show first started, I didn't have guests. I would just read from a book. So I would select a book for the week, and I would read from it for an hour. That's how the show got started. And then over time, I just kept building up, calling people, and then social media kicked in, and I was able to now contact people to appear on the show. So just keep plugging along. That's the point of the story, is just keep doing what you're doing, and over time, your numbers will build.